Hey everybody, it's Calxiyn here, and so today we are going to be talking about one of my favorite things, which is Wicked, the life and times of the Wicked Witch of the West. So, this is basically about Lionheart again. We did a video on Lionheart last week and about how he may be more of a self-preservation, not deprivation, a self-preservation character, more than just a coward, and that's how they're going to subvert the trope. But this week it looks like things may be going into a slightly different direction, but not too much. So basically, this week we find out, Salem says something along the lines of, when we first met, blah, 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 blah. And so, what kind of is the implication, to me anyway, is that, they met a while ago before this was a thing, like, before any of this mattered, if that makes sense. Like, before, you know, they didn't just come knocking on his door, when they were planning to take down Vale and be like, hey, Lionheart. Like, we don't, or Lionheart. Leon.
I thought I
Kingdom
was
Hearts.
tired. You're calling Ilya,
it's
Sienna,
okay.
and...
like Lionheart, you know, we don't know each other, but we're gonna get acquainted very soon. You know, like, it's not like that, you know what I mean? Like, that's not how they're doing it. It's more like, hey, we've been buds in the past, and I know things are different now, but trust us, we're gonna be very good friends. And so, basically, that kind of interaction of, like, you know, Lionheart, when I first met you, blah, 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 and then, like, now talking about how, brave he is, as, I think that was just kind of an ego boost. I don't think she really thinks that. But anyways, so to kind of talk about that, this is gonna be a very brief kind of, relation to Wicked. Like, I could do videos upon videos about the similarities between Wicked and RWBY, and, like, a lot of people, like, kind of, like, are like, well, Wicked's not the original source material, so you shouldn't focus on Wicked, but you should focus on the Wizard of Oz. But I don't see Miles and Carrie reading the original Wicked of Oz, Wicked of Oz, the original Wizard of Oz series. I do not see them having done that whatsoever. We know Miles likes musicals, and so I don't think that Wicked is too out of the spectrum, even if it's just, like, deep in his mind and he doesn't even realize he's doing it. You know what I mean?
Or you just really, really want a Wicked RWBY comparison.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Like, it may be just confirmation bias, but at the same time, I think that this interpretation, just because of how they're trying to paint Ozpin, sometimes, is more likely than the original Wizard of Oz interpretation, because remember that in Wicked, you know, the musical at least, Ozpin was, I don't want to say he was more laid back, but he was more of a gray area character, while in the book he was, like, a literal dictator. And so now that she, like, we kind of have this sense, and a lot of people have done theories that Ozpin may actually be bad, and I don't mean, like, evil, it's just, like, that he may have done some things in the past that were not what he should have been doing whatsoever. And so when you kind of think about things in that way, so to speak, you kind of see why they may take more from interpretations of Wizard of Oz where the wizard is not doing so hot, you may want to say. And so for this, in Wicked, Elphaba saves the lion cub that turns into the Cowardly Lion when he was very young. He got ripped away from his mother or something, and, like, people are trying to capture him because he's a animal, like, basically what the faunists are equivalent of, but this Lionheart doesn't seem to be a faunus, not that we know of. But anyway, they try to capture him to do some, like, science shit on him, and then Elphaba's like, no, this is wrong, and sets him free. So basically what kind of happens with that is that later people blame Elphaba for saving the lion cub, which is, like, ridiculous, because they say that if the lion cub had fought his own battles before, he wouldn't currently be a coward, and, like, they basically blame Elphaba for all the Cowardly Lion's problems, and stuff like that. And so I think that that is very interesting, because there is this implication that Salem and Lionheart have met before, and I think that if, like, she saved his life, this could be sort of, like, I don't want to say an IOU situation, but I could kind of see it that way as well, that, like, Salem saved like, his life when he was young, he kind of owes it to her, so they could have opened up with, hey, Lionheart, we need a favor from you. And so he was like, okay, but now this favor has gone too far. He realizes Salem is too powerful, and, like, the favor was too far, and now he can't do anything about it, you know what I mean? Like, the favor isn't what he thought it was. Now he's being manipulated, and now he can't get out of it because he's too scared, and Cinder can kick his ass. Salem can kick his ass. Cinder can probably also kick his ass.
Probably, yeah.
But, I meant more, a Salem right there. So, Hunter, what do you think about that? Because you've watched Wicked, I think.
Yes,
or we've at least...
I'm a fan of it. I haven't watched it, but I've listened to the music. I mean, I buy it, although I get the idea that he's afraid of Salem, that like his life was relatively normal and then Salem was introduced.
But they said they met before, and so what does that mean?
Well, when they first met.
Yeah, when they first met, like what does that mean?
Maybe he was just a younger huntress. I don't know. I mean,
Huntress?
Hunter,
he was a huntress.
Hunter.
Oh, okay.
Maybe he got
Salem
like
funded his transition, you know.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
That's the story that we're doing
there's
with.
There's your
my
queer
gay
representation.
I was just gonna say,
you little
there's my
shits.
trans representation. That would actually be kind of interesting for Salem to do that, but not really for Lionheart. Just in general, like to promise people things like that.
Like that would probably like people were like, I get to transition and people aren't shitty to me. All I have to do is become a. Yeah, I do it. Fuck.
Okay, well, I'm glad we have your approval on that. Anyways,
I'm sure that's probably not something that probably shouldn't be speaking for people. Anyways.
Yeah, well, you can only speak for yourself, really.
So.
Because you said that you do it, not that everyone would. But anyways, yeah, so I think this is very plausible. I do like Wicked a lot, so maybe I'm just seeing things that aren't really there. But
I think that
there are definitely, like, small Wicked comparisons, but at the same time, right? Like,
because he's a bitch and he's in a powerful position.
Yeah.
So you wonder what got him there. So you wonder if it was like, Salem all along.
Yeah, and so just something I want to say, like, it's hard because you kind of see things in different books and you're like, oh, that reminds me of this. Maybe they took inspiration from it. But sometimes you have to realize that a lot of stories use the same tropes. That's why TV tropes exist, because a lot of stories overlap in that. And so something that you think may be based off of Wicked, or based off of something, let's say, it may not be based off of that at all, it's just they both use a similar trope or story convention without even realizing it, almost. Because, like, there's only so much, like, I say this all the time, but nothing that anybody writes is an original idea, it's just how you execute it, right? Mm-hmm. And so this idea is probably, unless, if it's not, like, intentionally based off of Wicked, it's probably gonna be similar, but not at all what anybody meant. Does that kind of help, I think? Because, like, I know a lot of people are ticked that I focus on Wicked a lot, but, like, I think it's just a case of, like, you kind of have to, in a sense, like, when you see stuff like this, and maybe it just happens to be sort of from the same thing, and that's why I'm seeing it. And if, like, it could be, like, I don't know anything about Lord of the Rings, but it could as easily be in a different story, or an obscure story that nobody's ever heard of in their life. And it just, they happen to use the same story convention, and it just reminds people of that. And so maybe, like, it has nothing, absolutely nothing, to do with, Wicked at all, and it's just that Wicked and then RWBY just happen to be using, a similar sort of, like, I rescued you when you were young, or something or something along those lines. And so I think that that's fun. I think it's just all kind of fun to speculate. Because, like, if this happened in, say, like, Game of Thrones, we would be making a Game of Thrones comparison right now, right? And, like, I wonder if they took inspiration from Game of Thrones, you know what I mean? This time it happens to be Wicked. That's kind of what all I wanted to say. Because, like, Hunter, you read a lot. You must recognize that in YA books, a lot of them use very similar things in order to tell their story. But you also read for fun and not to analyze.
Well, I mean, you analyze stuff as you read them.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, like, you're not, like, studying.
I don't create YouTube channels now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I mean.
I think books are just very. I mean, I think like telling a good story is playing with expectation. Ultimately.
Yeah, and subverting.
Either like subverting them, or just coinciding with them for comfort, and so you get the idea like, okay, this is probably going to happen, and this is probably going to happen.
Mm-hmm. And so I feel like this is kind of taking what we know and turning it on its head, and then also kind of, maybe it's intentional and maybe it's not. Again, it's hard to say because we know RWBY is inspired by some things. But whatever the case, it's definitely something that seems to be happening, whether it's intentional or not. I think that they probably do have a very deep backstory together, and I'm very interested in what that deep backstory could be or is, or whatever the case may be. And so, that's all for us today, I think. Like, that's all kind of I wanted to say about this topic, because we really don't know. We just kind of make these videos to kind of talk with you guys and speculate before we know the answer, because we want to just kind of speculate for a while. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this, and I also hope that we'll see you soon, I guess. I guess this is the best way to put it, that I hope that we'll see you later, and that you enjoyed this video, that you'll join our Discord server, become a Patreon, do all those things, and I hope that you do enjoy these, because they are really for us to talk sort of as a community about what we speculate. They're not always like, I think, like, this is gonna happen after this and this. Like, these aren't theory videos, they're more just idea brainstorms about the show, and I enjoy these kind of idea talks, and I hope that you guys do too. So we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Don't die.